Hello BookTube, my name is Elizabeth and welcome back to the Owlery. Today I'm going to be bringing you my wrap up for half of February and all of March. Starting off from the end of my last wrap up, which I will link up here in the eye. I read The Valiant by Leslie Livingston. I loved this story. This follows Fallon, who is the daughter of a Celtic king, and one day she is basically kidnapped by the Romans to compete as a gladiator. And of course she is a woman, and it follows a household full of women who have been captured in some way to fight as gladiators. And most of history we've known that men were kidnapped to fight as gladiators for the Romans, but this sheds a new light on the stories of women who were captured and made to fight as gladiators. Basically they were slaves. And in the back of the book, Leslie Livingston talks about how she did some research and that it is historically proven that women have fought as gladiators, which is actually a very new discovery that archaeologists have made. And I just thought it was really, really cool. The main character was awesome. There's a really good romance. There's a really awesome like family relationship dynamic going there. It was just an exciting novel. I never wanted to put it down. I think I finished this in a day and it was really, really good. Then I picked up American Born Chinese by Jean Yang, I think is the author, and this is a graphic novel. I'm not really sure how to describe this, but basically it was about a boy who his parents came here from China, and he's lived here all of his life, but there's kind of this stigma around him because he's Chinese. And then it also kind of shoots back and forth to a different story, and that secondary story was really what confused me. I felt like it was put in there. I mean, it ties all in the end and it makes sense, and that was kind of an enjoyable part of the plot, but going back and forth between the two stories was a little confusing, and you don't really know why the two stories are in there together until the very end, and I just didn't think it was that big of a deal to have in there. So I'm not sure. I was really confused by the story. The artwork is really good, and I think Jean Yang is a great author, and I liked the story. It's just that secondary story was really what confused me. So I think this is a really good introductory novel, especially for anyone who wants to read some more diverse graphic novels, or a really simple graphic novel to kind of wet your feet into them, because the panels are really easy to follow. But I don't think it was for me. I don't know. It was just a little confusing, that secondary story. I wasn't really a big fan of that. Then I picked up In Real Life by Cory Doctorow and Jen Wang. Sorry, I had to read that off of my computer screen because it was a pretty hard name to remember. But this is another graphic novel. I read a bunch of graphic novels like right in a row because I just needed something to like pad my TBR. Plus I was feeling some graphic novels there for a while. But this follows a teenage girl named Adna, and she plays this online massive multiplayer role-playing game online or something. I don't know the game speak. That's all for my husband to figure out. But anyway, she plays this game online, and then she meets a boy on the video game where she finds out that he basically works for a company farming a whole bunch of gold to sell to people in developed countries. I believe he works in China or something like that, but his family's very poor. He's very poor. He works this late at night. He never gets any sleep, and so she's trying, and because this is against the rules of the game, she's trying to kind of figure out how she can help this boy, and it leads to a bunch of chaos, and she gets in trouble with her parents, and it's a whole big deal. So I really liked the meaning behind this story, and of course the main character has a lot of development throughout the story because she, starts off completely unaware that this kind of thing happens, and then moves to, I really want to help this kid, but then of course that leads her into some trouble because it has some negative effects for her and the boy. So it was really, really good. I enjoyed this. I really liked the art style. I liked how it played in, this is a story about a teenage girl, but it's also about this really big problem that we have in underdeveloped countries, and so that was really interesting. The panels were really simple to read. Another really great graphic novel, I think, for someone who can go into it. Probably not a good first graphic novel, but a really good graphic novel to wet your feet into. Then I picked up Salt to the Sea by Ruta Septes. I have a copy of this. I read this from the library, but I have a copy now. I'm probably going to do this again when I haul my books. But Chloe went to a signing in Largo for Ruta Septes, and I was in Orlando taking care of my mom, and she got it signed for me, and it says Freedom for Elizabeth, Freedom, Ruta Septes. I love it. Thank you so much, Chloe. My book is special fine. She's amazing. And so anyway, this is a story, and it follows like multiple different perspectives of these people who are trying to escape Poland, I believe. They're Jews and they're trying to escape the Nazis. Actually, maybe not all of them are Jews. I think they're just trying to escape their war-torn country. And the stories and how everyone kind of like flows together, and their storylines and their plots flow together, and it's so heart-wrenching, and it was beautifully written. Rita Septes, I think, is an amazing author, a great storyteller. I loved this book. Then I picked up Frostblood by Ellie Blake, and I'm not sure what it is with young adult fantasy right now, because usually young adult fantasy is like my favorite genre. It's mostly what I read, but I haven't picked up a young adult fantasy that I enjoy in a while, and it's really starting to bug me. But this one, it just fell flat. Like, it's about a girl who is a Frostblood, and the Firebloods basically rule the kingdom where she lives, and a couple of Firebloods rescue her from jail because she's found out that she's a Frostblood. She was in hiding, and they kind of want her to take over the kingdom. Was that too much information? That might have been too much information. No, that's in the description, so it wasn't too much information. So anyway, these Firebloods want to overthrow their king because he is bad, and then it had like some other like magical thing kind of coming into it. I don't know. It just wasn't for me, and I wanted to like this so much. I want to like all young adult fantasies because it's my favorite genre, but it just wasn't cutting it, unfortunately. I really need a good like new young adult fantasy series to start, you guys. Give me some recommendations in the comments. That'll be the question of the video. Recommend me some new young adult fantasy that you guys love, because I need to get my love back for fantasy. Right now I'm like huge into dystopian. You'll see that in a second. Then I picked up Unravel Me by Tahara Mafi, the first of 3 dystopian novels that I've read in the last couple of weeks, and it was fantastic. Of course, I cannot wait to read the rest of this series. I'm just so excited. I feel like everyone knows what this series is about. It's about a woman who, or about a girl who, if anyone, she can't touch anybody because she they die, she like sucks their energy out of them basically. And then there's a bunch of other people who have abilities, but different abilities. It's very similar to like Red Queen, you know, it's just a bunch of kids trying to overthrow the government, and they have special abilities, and I really enjoy it, and I am still waiting to find out what the deal is with Juliet and Warner, because I just don't see it yet. I don't know what everyone raves about, but I'm really excited to read the 3rd one and find out. And then I picked up The You I've Never Known by Ellen Hopkins, and this is a contemporary story. It's from the perspective of like 3 or 4 different people who all have lost a parent, I believe. And you know, there's just a bunch of other stuff going on. Ellen Hopkins is a really, really great author. I always love everything she writes. I mean, I'm not a big fan of contemporary, but she just adds that extra drama in a contemporary that I really enjoy. Her books are also really quick reads because they are all written in verse, so they're like poetry, and it's just a really, really quick. They look gigantic. They're all like 700 pages long, but there's like only 100 words on each page, so they're really easy and quick to get into, and I just love all of her stories. Then I picked up Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver. This is the Once Upon a Read Along book of the month for March, and so there's going to be a live show this Sunday. I'll put the date and time here because I can never remember it. But yeah, so we're going to be doing a live show talking about all of our thoughts and feelings. I did give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Closer to a 4 than a 5 though, because I gave it a 4 stars on Goodreads, but I still really liked it. So this is a magical realism story where basically, I'm not sure what it says in the description because I went into this book completely blind, but basically it's about a girl who has to relive the same day 7 times because she dies in a car accident with her friends, and she kind of has to figure out why she's reliving this day 7 times. How does she Is there a situation where she can survive, or is there a situation where she can just pass over and move on, and how can she accomplish that? And in the beginning, I hated this girl, okay? From someone who doesn't like contemporary, and for someone who is just really not into like the mean girl high school type contemporary story, this was really, really interesting. There's so much character development, and I really, really enjoyed it. The audiobook was fantastic, and I'm really excited to see this movie, which is why we are using this as our Once Upon a Read Along book of the month this month, is because the movie comes out this week, I think. So hopefully I can go see that before Sunday. But Anyway, yes, I really enjoyed this book. Last but not least, I read Perfect by Cecilia Ahern, which is the sequel to Flawed by Cecilia Ahern. Flawed is basically about a dystopian society. If you commit an act that is deemed flawed, such as lying or stealing, then you are branded flawed. If you lie, then you're branded on your tongue, or if you steal, you're branded on your hand. And the flawed are basically like second-class citizens. They are not allowed to eat certain foods, they have a curfew, things like this, and you're not allowed to help the flawed either. They have a very small minimum wage. You're not allowed to help them by paying them or anything like that. Flawed or second-class citizens, kind of like slaves, but sort of not. So our main character one day helps an elderly flawed man, and that puts her at risk for becoming flawed herself. So I don't want to give anything away about Perfect because it's huge spoilers, but I love this series. Like I said, dystopian right now is huge for me. I'm really enjoying lots of dystopian novels. I read this book in a day. I went to bed last night at like 2 a.m. because I could not put it down, and I really just I loved it so much. It's so good. If you guys are big fans of dystopian, I highly recommend checking out this series because it is fantastic. But that's all I have for you guys. If you enjoyed this video, check out one of my other videos right here, or you could subscribe by clicking my face right here. If you did that, that would make me oh so happy. Make sure you check out all the links in the description, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!